There is a strange moment on every quantum journey that almost no one mentions. It arrives abruptly, often right when you feel deeply aligned, deeply connected, and then suddenly, everything goes quiet. The synchronicities that once felt like the universe leaving clues disappear. The repeating numbers stop showing up on clocks. The chance encounters that used to mirror your intentions seem to fade out. Even your dreams become softer. Most people panic here. They assume they messed up somewhere. They believe they slipped out of alignment or fell away from the field. But what if I told you this quiet isn't the loss of connection at all? It's the indication that a shift is nearer than you think. Think about a symphony. Right before the most powerful moment of the music, there's usually a pause. The musicians freeze. The atmosphere thickens. And in that stillness, every listener leans closer. The silence isn't empty, it's loaded with expectation. In quantum manifestation, the exact same thing occurs. The universe pulls back. Not because you're disconnected, but because the field is reorganizing itself. You are standing inside the pause between movements. And when you learn to recognize this, you stop fighting the silence and start using it as your most potent gateway. In physics, the same principle reveals itself. Before a particle jumps into a new state, it doesn't simply travel from one point to another. It slips into superposition, a liminal, uncertain phase where it exists everywhere and nowhere at the same time. This is the essence of the quantum riddle. Uncertainty is not disorder. It is pure potential. When your synchronicities pause, you are standing inside that very space. Your previous timeline hasn't fully dissolved, and your new one hasn't yet solidified. You're hovering between realities, and in this in-between state the universe isn't asking you to fear, it's asking you to trust. But trust feels difficult in silence, doesn't it? The human mind craves reassurance. We're trained to watch for signs that confirm we're still on the correct path. When those signs disappear, our instinct is to assume we failed, that we lost our connection, or even worse, that nothing is unfolding at all. Yet quantum science teaches the opposite. The moment you can't see evidence is the moment when the most is shifting underneath the surface. David Bohm, the physicist behind the implicate order, said the visible world is merely the unfolding of a deeper hidden structure. What you call silence is simply the implicate order reorganizing itself to release the next revelation. Spiritually, mystics knew this long ago. The Desert Fathers and Mothers spoke of the dark night of the soul not as punishment, but as initiation. Neville Goddard taught that persistence in the quiet is what births the miracle, because imagination works beyond appearances. Even Joe Dispenza explains that the lack of external validation is where your nervous system learns to maintain coherence without reliance. You are not drifting from the field. The field is training you to stand in it without needing proof. Picture the moment before dawn. If you judged the sky only by its darkness, you'd believe the sun would never rise. But the stillness of night is the promise of morning. In the same way, the silence before a quantum jump is the guarantee that the shift has already begun. Your higher self is pulling you inward so you can break the habit of depending on external signs and anchor more deeply into your own coherence. So if you're here, if synchronicities have quieted, if the signs have slowed, if the universe feels unusually still, do not assume you're lost. In truth, you're standing inside the chamber where transformation is shaped. You are in the pause that comes before the launch. And just like the space between heartbeats, this pause is not an error. It is essential for life itself. Stay with me because in the next step I'll show you why this silence is intentional, why synchronicities always stop right before a breakthrough, and how this very space becomes the birthplace of the quantum leap. If synchronicities are the universe's whispers, then why do they suddenly fade just before something big unfolds? To understand this, we must look at both quantum physics and human psychology. In quantum mechanics, the observer effect shows us that the simple act of watching forces a wave of probability to collapse into a particle of reality. Synchronicities are tiny glimpses of that collapse unfolding. Moments where the field visibly bends and responds to your awareness. But here's the paradox. If the universe delivered non-stop synchronicities, your nervous system would never detach from needing reassurance. You'd become dependent on signs instead of on inner alignment. That's why, right before a major quantum leap, the synchronicities pause. The field isn't abandoning you. It's teaching you to embody your upgraded state without relying on outside confirmation. Picture learning to ride a bicycle. At first, someone steadies the seat for you, giving comfort and balance. Those early synchronicities act like that guiding hand, steadying and encouraging. But eventually the hand must release. The silence is the moment that support disappears. You might wobble, you might panic, but it's in that release that you prove you can maintain your own frequency. Without this stage, you'd never master alignment, only attachment. Neuroscience reinforces this. Your brain operates through a system called predictive coding, constantly building models of reality from past experiences. Synchronicities break those models. They're glitches in the pattern, evidence that your consciousness is shifting probability. But when a new timeline is close to stabilizing, your brain needs a moment to rewire itself. In that pause, your subconscious is building a new prediction framework. To you, it feels like silence. To the brain, it's deep recalibration. This explains why many people feel uneasy or unsettled when synchronicities disappear. They mistake integration for disconnection. Spiritually, every tradition echoes this truth. The yogis spoke of pratyahara, the withdrawal of the senses, not as emptiness but as preparation for union. Christian mystics described the quiet before revelation as the cloud of unknowing. Neville Goddard taught that you must persist in assumption when there is no visible evidence, because the lack of signs is not the death of your desire but the incubation of it. Even Joe Dispenza reminds us that coherence is proven when the outer world grows silent, because that's when your inner world must hold the frequency on its own. So why do synchronicities stop? Because the quantum field is ensuring you can embody the new reality without external support. Imagine if every time you doubted, the universe had to flash another repeating number on a license plate or send another strangely timed message from a friend. You would never graduate into mastery. The silence is your graduation moment. It's the universe stepping back and saying, you already know how to hold this frequency. Now show yourself. And there's a deeper layer. In physics, when a system reaches coherence, external fluctuations naturally settle. This means the closer you are to your new timeline, the less noise you perceive. Silence isn't the field shutting down. It's the signature of rising coherence, just like a tuning fork that vibrates smoothly once it finds perfect resonance. Your life feels quieter not because nothing is happening, but because alignment is clearing the interference. The trap is misinterpretation. Most people, when signs fade, spiral into doubt. Maybe I misread everything. Maybe the universe forgot me. That doubt drags them back into incoherence, recreating the need for more signs, restarting the pattern. But when you understand silence as closeness, not distance, you step out of that loop completely. You stop craving confirmation from the universe and instead become the confirmation. You live the alignment even when nothing external mirrors it. And from that state, the leap becomes unavoidable. So the next time synchronicities go quiet, don't panic. Smile. Recognize the moment for what it truly is. The threshold. The pause between timelines. The hand lifting from the bicycle seat. This is not the universe abandoning you. It's the universe trusting you. And that trust is the clearest sign you're closer than ever to your quantum shift. Stay with me, because in the next stage we'll dive into the science behind why your emotions may intensify during this silence, and why turbulence is often the very indicator that your breakthrough is close. Have you ever noticed that right before a major breakthrough, your emotions spike instead of settle? One day you feel unstoppable, as if destiny itself is pulling you ahead, and the next you're overwhelmed with doubt, anxiety, or even despair. This emotional whiplash confuses most people, and many interpret it as proof they're doing something wrong. But here's the paradox. The swelling of emotions is not evidence of failure. It's confirmation that a quantum shift is unfolding. To understand this, we have to return to quantum mechanics. In the quantum realm, particles don't sit in one definite position until they're observed. They float in superposition, existing in several possibilities at once, right before collapsing into a single state. There is turbulence there, a field of potentials flickering between realities. That is exactly what happens inside you. When you're on the verge of a quantum jump, your consciousness is hovering between two timelines, the old reality you're about to leave and the new one you're preparing to enter. The emotional swings you feel are the human version of quantum superposition. You are literally oscillating between worlds. Neuroscience adds yet another layer. Your brain operates through predictive coding, constantly generating a model of reality based on your past experiences. When you prepare to step into a new reality, this predictive model pushes back. Your subconscious triggers emotional alarms in an attempt to keep you protected within what feels familiar. That spike of doubt, fear, or sudden heaviness isn't proof you're going the wrong way. It's your brain trying to recycle an older version of you. At the very same time, your higher self is pulling you upward, sparking waves of inspiration, hope, or excitement. The collision between these two forces, the outdated brain model and the new energetic alignment, creates the emotional turbulence you're feeling. Spiritually, mystics have described this for centuries. The Buddhists call it the burning ground, the space where the ego resists dissolving right before awakening. St. John of the Cross wrote about the dark night of the soul not as punishment but as preparation for union with the divine. Joe Dispenza often teaches that you must break through the body's addiction to familiar emotions. Because when you're hooked on survival states like stress or worry, stepping into coherence feels uncomfortable at first. And Neville Goddard emphasized that persistence in assumption means remaining steady in the feeling of the wish fulfilled even when your emotions swing wildly. All of these teachings point to one truth: the storm inside isn't the end, it's the crossing. From a vibrational standpoint, emotions are simply energy in motion. When you're about to leap, your energy field speeds up to match the higher frequency of your chosen reality. This rise in vibration stirs everything that doesn't match it. Old doubts push up, past wounds echo, buried fears flare. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because these frequencies cannot travel with you into the new timeline. They surface so they can finally be released. Imagine a rocket preparing to leave Earth's atmosphere. Right before it breaks free, it hits the most resistance. But that resistance is the clearest sign liftoff is moments away. Here's the secret. The key isn't to fight the emotional turbulence, but to move with it. When you push against doubt, you strengthen it. When you collapse into fear, you recycle it. But when you witness the emotions as part of the quantum recalibration process, they lose their power. You stop identifying with them and instead become the observer. This is why mindfulness, breathwork, and nervous system practices are essential in manifestation. They ground you during internal storms, helping you hold a higher frequency without collapsing back into the old one. Let's make this usable. The next time doubt rises, instead of saying, "I'm failing," reframe it. "This is proof my old self is dissolving." When fear appears, remind yourself, "This is turbulence because my rocket is leaving the launch pad." When joy or excitement return, appreciate them as previews of your chosen timeline. By shifting your viewpoint, the emotional roller coaster becomes confirmation instead of contradiction. The emotional fluctuations are not random. They are the echo of your quantum leap taking shape. And here's the most important part. The intensity is temporary. Like any storm, these heightened emotions eventually pass once the new timeline settles. The quiet that follows feels like deep clarity, not because nothing is happening but because coherence has been reached. That's when manifestation feels effortless. So if your emotions have been heightened lately, don't panic. Celebrate it. Recognize it as vibrational turbulence that proves your new reality is close. Instead of fearing the waves, learn to surf them. Because on the other side of this emotional flux is the collapse into the timeline you've been calling in. Stay with me. Because in the next phase, we'll explore something most people misunderstand, the so-called final test. It's not the universe punishing you. It's your subconscious offering one last glimpse of the old pattern. And once you move through it, the leap becomes inevitable. Most people think that when life suddenly throws obstacles at them right before a breakthrough, it must be the universe testing them. They imagine a cosmic examiner grading their worthiness. But here's the truth. The universe doesn't test you. It reflects you. What feels like a final test is actually your subconscious mind replaying the last remnants of your old identity. It's not external punishment. It's internal programming. And this is why the challenges you fear may actually be the clearest signs your quantum jump is nearing. Let's break this down scientifically. Your subconscious operates like a predictive coding machine. Neuroscience shows that about 95% of your daily actions and emotional responses run automatically, shaped by past experiences. When you're on the edge of stepping into a new reality, those old patterns activate one final time. What? Because your brain is clinging to what's familiar. It generates the same scenarios, arguments, fears, or doubts, not because they are genuine threats, but because your nervous system has been wired to believe that familiarity equals safety. This is why Dr. Bruce Lipton emphasizes that subconscious programming is stronger than conscious intention unless you interrupt the pattern. From a quantum viewpoint, this final test is simply the collapse of old wave patterns. When a new timeline is preparing to solidify, the remnants of the old frequency rise to the surface for observation. It's similar to resonance in physics. When two frequencies meet, the weaker one eventually dissolves, but before it fades, it becomes louder. That loudness is what you experience as the final test. Spiritually, mystics across many traditions have described this moment. Sufis call it the threshold, the point where the ego resists surrender most intensely. Neville Goddard explained it as persistence. The universe will keep reflecting your old assumptions until you consistently hold the new one. Joe Dispenza explains that a body addicted to familiar emotions will recreate situations that pull you back into stress, anger, or scarcity simply because those states feel known. Across every tradition, the message remains unchanged. What we call a test isn't a barrier, it's a reflection. Here's how it plays out in real life. You've been meditating, elevating your energy, imagining abundance. You feel aligned. Suddenly, an unexpected bill lands, a conflict flares up, or a promising opportunity falls apart. Most people panic and assume nothing is working. But this moment is precisely when the quantum field asks, not through words but through frequency. Will you respond as your old identity or your new one? If you react with fear or irritation, you reinforce the past version of yourself. If you stay centered, steady, and loyal to the vibration of your chosen reality, you show that you've already shifted. And by proving that, the old pattern dissolves. Think of it like a video game. Before you ascend to the next level, you usually meet a final boss. That boss isn't new, it's an intensified form of everything you've already outgrown. The universe isn't blocking your path. It's presenting a concentrated snapshot of old energies you're finally ready to release. And if you stay aligned through the moment, the boss falls away and you move ahead. There's a powerful metaphor in alchemy. Before gold appears, the impurities must rise to the top of the fire. They bubble, resist, and stir chaos. But once they burn off, only purity remains. Your final test is simply those impurities bubbling up. And when you recognize it, you stop fearing the flames and start trusting the cleansing. The practical key is awareness. When something difficult shows up, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What version of me is this inviting me to step into?" That single shift reframes the whole moment from punishment to initiation. Your old patterns surface to give you one last opportunity to choose differently. And every time you choose differently, you anchor deeper into your quantum shift. So let me make this unmistakably clear. The challenge you're facing right now might not be a setback at all. It may actually be the signal that you're moments away from collapsing into your new reality. The irritation that rises, the doubt that sneaks in, the urge to slip back into old behaviors, these aren't signs of failure. They're signs that you're close. They're simply the shadows cast by the light of your approaching timeline right at the edge of your horizon. If this resonates, ground it right now. Comment, "I'm ready to pass the test." Not because the universe requires it, but because you're declaring it to yourself. That declaration becomes your broadcast to the field that the old story no longer governs you. It is the conscious alignment that dissolves the past and locks in the future. Stay with me because next we'll explore what happens immediately after the test. The energetic quiet, the nervous system reset, and the undeniable clarity that you've already leapt. When the last echoes of your old self surface and you choose a different response, something remarkable unfolds. Your nervous system resets. It feels as if your entire body releases tension you didn't even realize you carried. This reset isn't just emotional relief, it's a biological confirmation that your quantum jump has started to stabilize. You shift from turmoil to coherence, from survival to creation. And if you've ever felt that profound calm after a storm clears, you know exactly what I mean. In neuroscience, this state connects to the parasympathetic nervous system, the part responsible for rest, healing, and integration. For most people, everyday life is ruled by the sympathetic system, the fight-or-flight mode where cortisol and adrenaline keep the body on constant alert. But when you stop reacting to old patterns and instead embody your new frequency, your body shifts into parasympathetic dominance. Heart rate eases, breathing softens, immune strength increases. Dr. Joe Dispenza describes this transition as moving from survival into creation. It's the state where the body stops signaling threat and begins signaling alignment. Quantum physics offers another perspective. Before any system stabilizes into a new condition, it must move through turbulence. In nonlinear dynamics, this is called a bifurcation point, the instant when one path dissolves and another becomes possible. Your nervous system is the bridge that turns that turbulence into physical sensation. When you remain in coherence long enough, the turbulence fades and your body accepts the new trajectory as its default. That's why the calm afterward feels so profound. It's your biology syncing with the timeline you've chosen. Spiritually, traditions have always recognized this moment of inner quiet after challenge. In Zen Buddhism, it's known as Satori, a sudden flash of awakening where everything feels lighter and more connected. In Christian mysticism, it's the peace that surpasses understanding. The wording may differ, but the truth is identical. After releasing your former self, you experience not only mental clarity but a physical confirmation that you've become new. Here's how it appears in everyday life. The argument that once kept you stuck in anger suddenly feels meaningless. The financial pressure that used to trigger panic now feels manageable, even neutral. The urge to chase, control, or obsess softens, replaced by a quiet trust. It's not that problems magically disappear. It's that your nervous system no longer labels them as threats. And when you stop broadcasting fear, The field brings opportunities, synchronicities, and solutions that match your elevated frequency. This reset also influences your biology on a deep level. Research on heart-brain coherence from the HeartMath Institute shows that when your heart rhythms become smooth and coherent, your brain waves mirror them. The outcome is clearer thinking, emotional steadiness, and heightened intuition. Essentially, your entire system becomes a finely tuned receiver for the quantum field. You sense more possibilities, attract aligned opportunities faster, and experience time differently, less as linear pressure and more as a flowing present moment. There's an interesting paradox here. The calm after the storm may feel almost too still. Many mistake it for emptiness or lack of progress. But that stillness isn't the absence of motion, it's the presence of alignment. Picture an arrow drawn back on a bow. In the quiet before release, all potential is already charged and ready. The calm isn't the end of your shift. It's the confirmation that the arrow is about to launch. When you honor that quiet rather than resist it, manifestation accelerates. This is why meditation, breathwork, and gratitude practices work so powerfully. They train your nervous system to operate in coherence more often. But here's the deeper realization. Once you've passed the so-called final test, the calm isn't just something you practice. It becomes your default state. Your body remembers it. Your field amplifies it. And reality begins to shape itself around it. So if you feel unusually calm even after recent chaos, don't overlook it. That calm is your nervous system signaling that the jump is real. The shift has already taken place. You've moved from reacting to creating, from surviving to embodying. And this calm isn't fragile. It isn't fleeting. It's the foundation for everything that comes after. Stay tuned, because in the next section we'll explore how to permanently stabilize this state, how to carry this calm forward so your new timeline doesn't just flicker in, but locks in as your lived reality. By now you felt it. The subtle signs, the turbulence, the final test, and then the deep calm. These are not random moments. They're the universal rhythm of transformation. But here's what most people overlook. A quantum jump isn't just about experiencing a breakthrough moment. It's about anchoring that new state so it becomes the reality you live from every day. Without stabilization, the shift can flicker on and off, leaving you inspired one moment and uncertain the next. True mastery is carrying the energy of your new self long enough for it to solidify in your outer world. In neuroscience, stabilization comes down to neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire patterns. Each time you embody your new frequency, you carve new neural pathways. But when you fall back into old emotional habits, the brain snaps back to its familiar circuits. This is why consistency matters. Not force, not struggle, simply repeated coherence. Dr. Joe Dispenza often reminds us, nerve cells that fire together wire together. The more often you step into your new identity, the more natural it becomes. Soon the old self feels distant and the new self feels like home. Quantum mechanics reflects the same truth. When a wave collapses into a particle, it becomes stable, tangible reality. But unless the collapse is reinforced, the system stays in fluctuation, shifting between possibilities. Your consciousness works the same way. The more consistently you broadcast the frequency of your chosen reality, the more firmly it takes form. Picture tuning a radio. At first the static comes and goes, but once you lock onto the right station, the signal becomes clear and steady. Spiritually, this is what mystics and sages have taught for centuries. Whether it's the yogic principle of abhyasa, steady practice, the Christian invitation to walk by faith, or the Taoist wisdom of Wu Wei, effortless alignment, the message remains unchanged. Stability arises from staying committed to the new way of being, not perfection, not control, just returning again and again to your chosen state until it becomes second nature. Here is the practical truth. Stabilization doesn't mean doing more. It means being more. More consistent in your inner alignment, more devoted to your chosen energy, more at ease in your trust. The outside world may need time to fully reorganize, but your inner world must stay unwavering. That's why gratitude, meditation, and daily moments of coherence are so powerful. They keep your nervous system rooted in the frequency of creation instead of survival. Now imagine what happens when you not only make a quantum jump, but actually live from it consistently. Your nervous system adjusts. Your brain restructures. Your energetic field strengthens. And the universe responds not just with synchronicities, but with a full reordering of your reality. This is where miracles stop being rare events and start becoming your norm. You don't shift once. You learn to exist in a state of ongoing shift, where expansion, growth, and manifestation become continuous. And this is exactly why I created something special for you. If you want to take everything we've explored even deeper, To truly stabilize your frequency, strengthen coherence, and fully embody your new timeline, I've written a guide outlining the 7 principles of quantum alignment step by step. It's called Awaken Your Quantum Power. This isn't just theory. It's a roadmap for turning the shifts we discussed today into lasting change. Inside, you'll learn how to reset your nervous system, regulate emotion, release limiting patterns, and embody the you who already exists in your desired timeline. You'll find the link to the ebook in the pinned comment below. It's your next step if you're ready to stop flickering in and out of alignment and finally stabilize your new reality. So let this be your reminder today. The signs you're seeing are not random. The turbulence, the quiet, the test, the shift, these are confirmations that your jump is real. And now the work is simply to live from it. To choose, again and again, to be the version of yourself you've already become. Remember, you are not waiting for the future to show up. You are pulling the future into this moment. And when you do, the universe has no choice but to meet you there. Stay aligned, stay coherent, and never forget, you are not merely manifesting. You are remembering who you truly are. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep your frequency high, your heart open, and your nervous system calm. The shift is here. You are already living it.